If you've been around this channel before, you might have heard me talk about drones. Drones can really be the foundation of your song, and that's why I think they're so important. So I wanted to show you guys how to make one today. But before we get into that, let me tell you about today's sponsor, DistroKid. DistroKid is a company that helps you get your music on all of the top platforms like Apple Music and Spotify. DistroKid makes it really easy to upload your music to these platforms, but one of the best parts is you keep 100% of your royalties, so anything that you make off of your music is yours to keep. Personally, I don't upload a whole lot of music to Spotify and Apple Music. I really only have my one EP on there, but I do collaborate quite a bit with some other artists, and DistroKid makes it really easy to make sure that we're all getting our fair pay. DistroKid has a feature called splits where you enter in a percentage for each person that's involved in the song and everyone gets paid their amount directly. It's really easy to set up and it keeps everyone's info private so the collaborators only know exactly how much they're getting and they don't see anyone else's split. And if you're worried about your collaborators not having a DistroKid account, well, they can make one for $10 and then get added to the splits. So if you're interested in checking out DistroKid, use my link down below. You'll get 7% off and it'll let them know that I sent you and help support the channel as well. Thank you to DistroKid for sponsoring this video. Let's go ahead and move on and I'll show you guys how to make some drones in Ableton. So when creating a drone, there's a few things I'm looking for. I'm looking for it to just sit in the background and add texture as well as fill out the song. So usually to create that vibe, I'm going to be using a more analog style synth. Now a lot of times when I'm trying to go for that analog sound, what I'll actually do is I have an analog synth here. It's the Prophet Rev 2, and a lot of times I'll use that. But because I know a lot of people have Ableton and don't really have analog synths, I just want to show you guys how to do it in Ableton. You don't need an analog synth or anything to do this. It's just use the tools you have. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this drone in the key of C. So the way that I'll do this is I'll make a MIDI file, and once I have it open up, all I'm going to do is just put a C note down. You can also add an octave to spice it up a bit, or maybe another note in the mix if you'd like. So for starters, this is what it's going to sound like just with analog pulled up and those two notes. Not really doing too much to add to the sound. So let's go ahead and dive in here and make this sound quite a bit better. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the filter back. This is not meant to be the start of the show. This is just meant to fill out your song. So let's go ahead and hear how it sounds with the filter pulled back a bit. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the attack up. I'm going to turn the decay down, and I'm going to turn the sustain up. So that way it'll just kind of be more like a pad. And I'm going to bring the filter down just a little bit more. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on unison, and I'm going to detune this. This is going to make it sound a lot more wide. All right, so now we've got our basic sound down. This is really actually all I'm going to do with the synth, so we're just going to leave it at that. Next, let's go ahead and put a reverb on here. So we're just going to use the Ableton reverb. I'm actually going to have the high cut on and the low cut on for this sound, and I'm going to have it kind of just sitting in the mid-range like that. From here, I'm not really going to do too much more. We're just going to turn the decay up to about 2.5 seconds, and we're going to keep the dry wet pretty high at about 60%. So let's hear how that sounds. Actually, I'm going to do a few things here. I'm going to keep the dry wet about 70%, and I'm going to bring the filter back on the synth. And we'll just go ahead and turn the quality up to high there. Turn the stereo up a bit, and the size up a bit. So now you can kind of see how this is slowly but surely becoming a drone. Let's go ahead and add this auto pan on right before our reverb, just to give it some more movement. Next, let's go ahead and add on the chorus ensemble. So for this, we're going to leave it on the classic mode, and we're going to leave it at like a slower rate. So this should be good here, and we're going to bring the amount down a little bit to about 40%, and the dry wet also down to about 40%. So let's go ahead and hear how that sounds. I'm going to bring the width up to about 150%. So what I just did there with the chorus ensemble is I'm trying to make it sit more on the outsides of the stereo field so that this is not going to be taking much of our mono space up. What that's going to do is that's going to leave a lot of room for your vocals and your bass and your other instruments that are sitting more mono. It's going to give those more room to work. Next, what I want to do is I want to fill up a little bit more space with this guitar open preset here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play one note on this just like we did with the synth, but this time I'm going to play a G. See how that sits with it? So then what we're going to do, if you watched one of my recent videos, we're going to freeze and then we're going to flatten this. And now we have an audio of this guitar note. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse this note and find a good place to put it. And I think it would sound pretty cool if we put it like right here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drown this thing in reverb. So we're going to go ahead and pull up another reverb. I'm going to turn this to 100% wet with about another 2.5 second delay time. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to high and low cut it. And right before the reverb, we're going to put an auto filter to filter out some of those highs. This is what that'll sound like. And I'm actually going to turn up the size of this and the decay time a lot more. We're trying to make this thing sound like a really, really long reverb. So let's hear how that sounds now. So yeah, there you have it. That's how I make drones and textural sounds to sit in the background of my tracks. It sounds cinematic, it sounds cool, and it really fills out the songs. This might not be something you'll need for every song, but it is nice to know how to make them, because if you do need one, you don't have to use a preset or a loop, and you can just make one that'll fit your song exactly how you want it. I hope you guys learned something in this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. If you guys have any suggestions for future content, go ahead and leave those in the comments down below. Other than that, you guys have a great day, and thank you for watching.